Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome to the Dave Palma Show. And in this episode, I have a certified clinical health and wellness coach and yoga and mindfulness instructor. Emily Marquis, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Honoured to have you here. Honoured to have you here as a fellow coach. I mean, obviously, I fell into it from my firefighting job, and also I did some sports. So I was always around coaches from a young age, and you know, it's all related, really, isn't it? Really. So
yes.
You know, any sports person is going through some wellness issues, especially during trying to train during a coronavirus. You could see it was very emotional at the last Olympic Games if you followed it. You know, so
it's a very important. Your health is part of your job. Yes.
Your wealth. Part of your job, exactly. So we're going to talk about your wellness business that you do at the moment. But I mean, I know you have a backstory, and we can share something personal that we're both going through now. I won't elaborate too much because it's about you, but you know, you can give me some advice as well. But certainly, I want to get the audience to get some value of how they deal with things, especially when it comes to stress reduction and resilience. You know, which is the area I like to focus on. What's your backstory anyway? Because you obviously wasn't a coach to begin with, was you? Where are you from as well? Your humble beginnings?
No, I live in the United States in Colorado. But I lived all over the United States. I've lived here for about 10 years, settled down. So my backstory is I worked in human resources in the corporate world and worked my way up, worked with people, and started to really see, and part of that job, unfortunately, is having tough conversations up to terminating people, letting them go. And usually in those conversations, you found out that it wasn't always about, you know, they weren't just not doing their job. It was because something else was probably going on. Stress, burnout, conflict, their health. They had a loved one at home that was suffering, financial issues. So it just made me really realize that looking at the whole person, and I went through some health challenges. I had fertility challenges, depression, anxiety, thyroidism, PCOS, all of those things. And I went to doctor to doctor to get help, and felt so alone and unheard. And so I finally started taking matters into my own hands. Finally found a doctor that would work with me on getting my own blood work and changing my lifestyle. You know, less alcohol, eating changes, exercising. Stress was a huge part of my problem. And so that obviously took years to make all those changes. So the combination of my own suffering and seeing people in the workplace, I started getting really more into, I don't want people to have to go through what I did alone. So, and I'm a mom. And so knowing that you have lots of different roles to show up for you, you deserve to feel well. And so I'm in this field now, which is starting to get really recognized in the medical community.
Yeah. Wow. So you brought all your experience together, and I thought I want to help other people, kind of like what I did, really, you know, because obviously I did a stressful job, you know, and then there's obviously life's adversities combined, you know. So it's kind of like the build up, and then thinking, right, I really want to help people from my experience. Is that how it works out for you?
Yes, I really want to help people so that they can take care of themselves to do well in their job, because I believe we all want to do well, and also to feel well, and to help be an advocate for themselves, and to just take care of themselves through lifestyle changes, no matter how small they are. And to also know, no matter what we do, we're not immune to having life throw us curveballs, as I know that you experience. And last year I had to go through a scare of breast cancer, and everything worked out. But so it's like how, someone so healthy, things still happen. And so how do you get through that in those times? And so that's
kind
really
of like the coronavirus. It can affect anyone, can't it? Really, it's like the coronavirus, really. And I know, nearly, you could more or less see that any everyday person, it's affected someone in their family, friend or family, and this is the same with
Yes.
cancer or any other kind of thing like that, really. So yeah, I mean, I'll share that I've just had a recent diagnosis of prostate, and now it's something I've, as well as the coronavirus, have to learn to live with. Obviously the way the world leaders are saying we have to live with the coronavirus now. But of course, it is scary with cancer because of what happens. What happens? But yeah, so what did you do? Sorry about this. I should have turned this off. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, it's my wife calling me because she's still abroad.
Well,
So. Right, okay.
that's important.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, so there you are. I dealt with that quite well, didn't I? So didn't panic too much. Yeah. So where was I? Yeah, I was speaking about the coronavirus and different health issues can affect you.
Yes, we all can be impacted.
How do you deal with that? How do we deal with that? Where do we get the stress management and resilience for this?
Well, it looks different for everybody. And really, that's why it's really knowing what makes you feel good. And that can evolve. So with cancer, I mean, that's a lot of uncertainty and a reality to deal with, or the coronavirus, or having loss in your family. I mean, so for me, meditation and journaling, going on nice long walks, taking care of myself, working a little bit less sometimes, exercise, dancing really helps me. But for someone else, it could be knitting or calling a friend or playing a game. So it's finding what really relaxes you. And I used to even have to, in really intense time of stress, write out those things and put them on a sticky note on my mirror, so that when I was feeling so bad, I just would look up and be like, all right, do one of these things, Emily, and it will help you get through this.
So what tools do we have for stress reduction and resilience that you use as a health and wellness coach?
Well, it really depends on the individual. And that's one beautiful thing about coaching, is you don't tell someone this is what you have to do. Everyone gets to decide for themselves. So for me, stress reduction can mean meditation and journaling, long walks, saying no to things, or taking long walks, or, dancing. I love dancing. But for other people, it could mean knitting, playing a game, listening to a podcast, playing a video game, or calling a friend, exercising. So really having like 5 things in your toolbox that make you feel good in a long-term situation and feel healthy, pull those out and use one of those to get you through it. And I know in hard times, I've had to even write those things down on a sticky note and put them on my mirror, so that if I'm feeling really low, I can just look at that and say, okay, Emily, just do one of these things and it will help you feel better and get you through this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, you obviously recovered from your breast cancer after live with it, and just get it all managed from the doctors and everything. Tell us your journey, what you've learned from that, and how people can maybe cope well with that, and post pandemic in general, how we can get back to the world and the new normal that people are looking at.
Well, I think everything is an opportunity to pause. And the only thing that we know that is certain is nothing is certain. Change is the only thing that is certain. And so right when we feel really great, something else can come along, and our normal can look completely different than it did yesterday. So if you have to live with cancer, or you got a wake-up call that stress is impacting your health or something, or you got the coronavirus and life is totally different, or you live with it in your body, so take a pause, step back and say, okay, I have this information now, and what do I need to do to feel good with the acceptance of where I'm at now? And so getting to that acceptance could take some grieving. But once you get there, now is an opportunity to reevaluate, make some changes, reach out to different resources, and start acting with your new way of being. If you need to eat differently, if you need to relax more, if you need to exercise more, or go to the doctor more often, how can you balance out your schedule to prioritize those things?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, obviously for me, it was a scary situation. But I mean, I had a heart condition diagnosed about 14 years ago, 14, 15, yeah, something like that. So, I mean, that obviously can be scary at any time because, that's like 3 seconds, 3 minutes and, you need someone around you to give you CPR kind of thing. Obviously with the cancer, they're talking about it, giving you that diagnosis, and that's quite scary. I mean, with doctors, recommendations, sometimes it can be scary. What do you do in that situation?
Well, for sure, that is scary. And that's where most people, they get a diagnosis or they're told if you don't make changes, bad things are going to happen tomorrow, or you need to be on this medication for the rest of your life. So you go home and are overwhelmed naturally and scared. And it feels like, well, how can I live like this? So I think that's really when it's important to reach out to help, because you don't have to do it alone. And that's where someone like a health coach can come in and work through it with you. Okay, what does your new normal look like? How do you get through the stress of it? How do you make a plan so that you're not sitting at home trying to do it all by yourself? Finding a partner in that is scientifically proven to make you more successful in building resilience to get through it. I mean, and that's the hard thing about a heart condition or cancer. You may not necessarily feel badly all the time. So it's like, well, I feel okay, but you have this thought going on in the back of your head, but I'm not okay. So it's a lot of mind work too. How do you calm the mind to be able to do what you need to do to get through the day?
Yeah. Wow. That's I mean, because obviously doctors can get it wrong, but they're not counselors as such, are they? The ones that in their specialist field, like obviously in oncology or cardiologists. So they just specialize and tell it as it is there. Whereas counselors and maybe health coaches will do a different way, wellness coaches, even for the mind, So I think you should just kind of like have kind of various different people to deal with certain things in certain ways that you might interpret. The suggestions that not only the doctor, its informations alone will help you, would it really?
Yes. I mean, having a village, I know that you really have to trust who you're working with and also trust yourself. If something doesn't feel right in your stomach, or your chest, or your meaning like this information doesn't sit right with you, you have the right to go get a second opinion or say, okay, I'm going to go talk to an acupuncturist to help me through this or a coach. So it's like really building up that village of support for different ways to deal with it.
So I mean, for me, in the past, obviously I had my own journey of stress building up from work as a firefighter, and obviously I stopped my sport, and then things were happening at in a bad patch of my life, with deaths both in the family and workplace stuff, the kind of like repeated scenes of what I've seen, bad and good things, so things like that. And of course, the workplace politics, with HR and the trade union. I was a trade union guy, by the way. So obviously you're using a corporate world, but in firefighting and teachers,
I worked
they're
with
real
unions.
sort of hard and hard.
Yes.
Oh, well, there you are. So you know what I'm talking about. That can be especially when you're dealing with kind of conflicts type stuff that really can affect the person in the workplace, and they could be dealing with personal stuff outside. So that was kind of me, as well as being a kind of involved as a trade union rep in a certain area as well. So, but I got on with HR. But what I'm trying to say is, I mean, for me, there was, little behavioural things that crept in, like increase of alcohol and, probably not eating as well when I was a sport, when I was doing my sports and stopped it, the eating got out of control and things like that, emotional eating and drinking. So how could we avoid all that?
Well, we're all human, so being perfect is not possible. We all have different vices or behaviors. So I think it's really, you have to be really, really aware. So building in some mindfulness of just being aware of what are my behaviors, or, your drinking or emotional eating was being driven by something else, which was your stress and your emotions. So being just aware, like, wow, I'm drinking more than I want to be right now, which makes me not feel well the next day, which makes me feel not present. And then I'm tired, low energy, or I'm not eating that well, so I'm having all these things, I'm not feeling the best I want to, but why am I doing that? And it's really peeling that onion back, all the layers, to say, well, something here has to change, or I need some emotional support. So it's just noticing. And we all have those behaviors. So I know personally for me, I definitely, I can't drink alcohol. I mean, I have alcohol every now and then, but it just really disrupts my sleep. And so it's just not worth it. Yeah.
It actually doesn't, you don't sleep properly with alcohol, actually.
No.
You might feel like you do when you drink it. It's like you're feeling drunk and sleepy, but it's not. Yeah. You actually lose a lot of sleep from it, really. Yeah, it messes with you.
And
actually, it'll bring me on to... Yeah, go on. No, go on.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Well, anyway, it brings me on to my next area, which sleep is a very big topic now. In fact, it's more a big thing than just simply speaking about diet, nutrition, and going out and exercising. Mm-hmm. It's a real huge thing because it's very important. And then it's a big thing about sleep hygiene, and making sure that the conditions are right for sleeping and stuff like that, because it's all very... there's things you have to look at if you're not sleeping properly around you. I mean, tell us more about that.
So sleep now is I think we're sort of sick of the word pandemic, but it's at that level. Yeah. Sleep challenges are at a very high level. And so our bodies as humans are supposed to rest for a certain period of time. And that's when our cells rejuvenate. That's when our organs rejuvenate. That's when our brain rests. So many things happen when we are resting. It's not just sleep. And so when we're not sleeping well, which is extremely common these days, everything else, literally sleep is rooted at the center of everything. Weight gain, stress, heart disease, inflammation. So sleep is rooted at the middle of everything. So if you were to choose one thing to work on, that could be a very good first step. However, definitely, things are, all related. The more you exercise, the sleep you better. The more, joy you have, the more you sleep better. The less stress you have, the less computer work you have, the more you sleep. So it's all a cycle, but sleep is at the root of so many things these days, yet is something we can all probably feel is a common challenge.
Excellent. Well, before we go, I'd just like you to maybe explain to the audience how could they set some goals for their health.
So we all want to make these changes, or we all say, oh, we'll cut that in a little bit, or this year I'm going to lose 300 pounds, or I'm going to work more or work out more, or I'm going to meditate more or relax more. However, it just doesn't happen. So it's really, really important to set some SMART goals, which are small, specific, measurable, and realistic, week by week, and taking it day by day, and then seeing where you go is a really important key to success.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I mean, I can see on your website that you've got improved sleep, less stress, weight loss for health. Weight loss is also still a big thing as well, because obesity and the visceral fat that people don't realize inside is that causing damage to your organs, isn't it? And things like that. Mm-hmm. Reduce alcohol and tobacco. In mindfulness, you've covered pretty much all on your website. How do people find out more about the work you do?
You can find all things about me on my website, Emily Marquis, MARQUIS.com. And I can just be your partner in any lifestyle change that you'd like to reach for meeting your health goals your way.
Excellent. Well, I'll put that, anyone listening, her website, link to her website will also be on the show notes, so you can always refer back to that anytime after listening to this. But Emily, thanks. It's a very good, spot on with, stuff that I want to also bring out. I'm not a health and wellness, total coach, because obviously I came from the sports and fitness background, and there's a lot of kind of, stress in my own world that, I like to sort of build resilience on. So, but it's a great pleasure having you on as a fellow coach. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for coming on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening. And remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. Or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.